In late 1991, I was the ripe old age of 16 years. I had a job, a great group of friends, and a love for video games that never seemed satiated. I was always out and about looking for the latest greatest arcade games, typically at the theaters, bowling alleys, and retail establishments spread out all over town. It was during one of these outings that me and my buds discovered WWF WrestleFest by Technos Japan. You may be familiar with that name because they were behind a number of incredible arcade and home releases back then. They had created the likes of MAME, Renegade, and of course Double Dragon. In 1989, they were also the ones responsible for the incredible WWF Superstars, the very first game of its type for the promotion. The tag team based gameplay featured a great grappling system where you could pull off many of your favorite moves, and should you have success, you'll face the nearly unstoppable force of the Megabucks, a partnership between the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. Technos Japan took what they learned from that fantastic release and used it to create WWF WrestleFest, making it bigger, badder, and better in every way possible. In this episode, we are going to be taking a look at it, see if it lived up to the hype, and is it worth playing today? I hope you guys enjoy the show. The setup here is incredibly simple and mirrors much of what was seen in the previous game. Once again, you form a tag team and go on a run to earn a shot at the WWF World Tag Team Championship, this time held by the mighty Legion of Doom. The roster sees a nice uptick in variety. While the Legion of Doom served as the game's boss encounter, unfortunately they were not playable. Should you not want to take part in the Saturday night's main event tag team matchups, you can instead choose to enter the Royal Rumble solo. There you will choose a single wrestler and battle it out against everyone alone with 6 total warriors on screen at once. The arcade cabinets came in a 4-player configuration, though there were also conversion kits for 2 and 3 player options. The gameplay is simple to pick up and very easy to understand. There are only 2 buttons to worry about, punch and kick. Individually, they are true to their namesake, and together they allow you to start running, and then give you 2 different moves depending on the wrestler. When close to your opponent, you will initiate a grapple, which gives you a few additional options. Punch will allow you to pull off a headlock. From that headlock, you can drag your opponent to a better position, or you can do a wrestling move that varies depending on the health of your foe and the wrestler doing it. From the grapple, you can also whip your opponent into the ropes with the kick button. As they come back towards you, press punch or kick again for an offensive attack. While your foe is on the mat, you also have a number of additional options. If you're by his head, you can pick him up with the punch button. If not by his head, punch will allow you to stomp the living hell out of him. Punch and kick together by his feet will grab him into a Boston Crab, while they'll drop an elbow on him further away. While the wrestler is down, kick is also your pin. During all of that, you will want to pay special attention to the animations. If someone is dizzy, you can do different moves from behind them. If they are laying in a diagonal position, it means they are weak, close to defeat, and can be finished. Each wrestler's signature finishing move will automatically fire off when their opponent is low on life and they are in the proper position. Other gameplay highlights are out-of-the-ring battles that include weapons, double team-up moves, and the ability to rush the ring and save your opponent from a pinfall. The most important aspect of the gameplay to keep an eye on during the tag team matches is the power-up feature. The wrestler not currently in the ring will occasionally get a power-up icon over their life bar. You're gonna want to tag them in ASAP because that power-up means they will win every grapple attempt, and you can dole out some massive damage while it's available. Manage this and WWF WrestleFest can be a very beatable game. Should you still be having some trouble, an extra credit will buy yourself some more health, a fact the game reminds you of regularly.
for the next match.
The visuals in WrestleFest are a massive upgrade over the previous effort. There's more color, larger sprites, and lots of new animation. By the standards of 1991, it easily rivaled the efforts of the top arcade manufacturers, and blew away most console graphics by a fair stretch. The real win was the fact that it captured the feel of the WWF at the time. These larger-than-life titans were superheroes to most kids, and their digital counterparts here had all the same charisma you saw every week during the WWF television shows. Wrestling video games up until this point had been relatively meager affairs visually, even the ones that played well. To see a developer take the time and effort to build a product that impressed on this level was a new high for the genre, and honestly, would not be passed for a number of years afterwards. That was ultimately the big draw to arcade games for many of us, the graphics that we couldn't get easily at home. We sought out the likes of WrestleFest for its use of bold color and cutting-edge details as a preview for what the future would hold for the next generation. These attractions had a wow factor, an amusement park-like excitement that you couldn't find anyplace else. The first time you saw WrestleFest out in the wild, you would just stand there in shocked amazement. It looks so good. And that's the very first step in every outstanding arcade experience. The sound and music of WrestleFest held its own against the killer visuals. There was lots of digitized speech through the entrance announcer, the commentary, and the attract mode. The music was loud, the crowd was energetic, and every move came with the expected bumps and thumps that made them feel authentic. I'm not going to isolate any one area of the sound, so here is a few minutes of me dominating the Royal Rumble. As fantastic as this game is, it wasn't quite perfect. In fact, the game was incredibly cheap at times in the Royal Rumble mode and could rob you of a credit in seconds. During the Royal Rumble, the AI could toss you out with damn near full life, ending a run before it ever really began. This was infuriating and happens more often than it should. I also did not appreciate the time limits in place for the Rumble. It doesn't matter how well you perform, if the time runs out, the game is over, forcing you to keep a credit ready even if you have a full life bar. Fortunately, this isn't an issue in the Saturday night's main event tag team mode. When the clock hits critical, the match switches to a desperation mode where you get access to your finishers, so things will end much quicker. When you lose in this mode, it's almost always due to a pinfall or being counted out of the ring. The biggest overall issue is the pay-to-win mechanic of dropping a credit in and getting full life back. You can do this in multiplayer mode, which is infuriating. You can be dominating only to have your opponent add that credit, get the life back, and completely turn the tide of the matchup. Imagine for a moment if you could do that in Street Fighter or Samurai Showdown. It would have changed the entire meaning of competitive multiplayer. These issues aside, WrestleFest is still a genre-defining experience start to finish. I have raved about the sound and visuals, but the gameplay is top-notch as well. With just 2 buttons to keep track of, you get a feel for everything extremely fast, and after just a few play sessions, begin to form some legitimate strategies to help you win more often. You had access to the moves you loved, the finishers that helped define these gimmicks, and it was all tied up with a beautiful bow of excellent sound and graphics. It could be cheap and it could irritate you to death, but there's no question it was one of the very best arcade wrestling titles ever released.
Now go for the next match.
Unfortunately, the consoles of the day never received a home version of the original WrestleFest. You will find nothing like it on the Super Nintendo, Genesis, or TurboGrafx-16. The Neo Geo likely could have pulled off a decent port, but it wasn't there either. When we finally did see the WrestleFest name on a home product, it was a 2012 remake that released for iOS-compatible devices. It replaced most of the roster with a more modern lineup of wrestlers, and it adopted the WWE moniker in the title. They also added a bunch more modes, but it never felt like it should, and honestly, wasn't the same product in the end. There is also a lineup of standalone machines from a company called Basic Fun. They include a few different games that may be of interest, but the WWF lineup have roster changes that again affect the authenticity of the experience. Basically, if you want to play this in the original form, you're going to need emulation, which is how I captured the footage you see here in this very video. And that really is the sad story of the arcade version. For the longest time we couldn't play it at home, and the official efforts to do so always seem to fall flat and fail to meet expectations. It tends to be that way with licensed properties more often than not, and one of the main reasons that video game preservation is so important. Countless games would be lost otherwise. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.